The roar of the crowd, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, these moments define American sports. We idolize athletes and celebrate their achievements, believing in the purity of competition. But what happens when the illusion shatters? What happens when the games we hold sacred are tainted by greed, deceit, and corruption? From the Super Bowl to Augusta National, corruption has left its mark on every major sports league in America. While we marvel at athletic prowess, a hidden network of fixers, gamblers, and corrupt officials manipulate outcomes. The rise of legalized gambling and big money has only exacerbated the problem. Our journey into the heart of sporting corruption begins in 1919 with the Chicago White Sox. Led by star players like Shoeless Joe Jackson, the team seemed destined for glory. But behind the scenes, a sinister plot was brewing. Disgruntled players, influenced by gamblers, conspired to throw the World Series. The plan: intentionally lose the series for a hefty payout. The heavily favored White Sox lost to the Reds, 5-3, sending shockwaves through the nation. The Black Sox scandal became synonymous with corruption in sports, forever changing baseball. The Black Sox scandal revealed organized crime's influence on professional baseball. Gamblers like Arnold Rothstein exploited players' financial vulnerabilities. The scandal exposed a culture of gambling that permeated all levels of society. 8 White Sox players were banned from baseball for life, though acquitted of criminal charges. The scandal shook the foundation of baseball, a sport representing American values of fair play. It serves as a stark reminder of sports' vulnerability to corruption and human greed. The Black Sox scandal forced Major League Baseball to restore its integrity. In 1920, Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis was appointed as the first commissioner of baseball. Landis banned all 8 players involved in the scandal, establishing a precedent for dealing with corruption. New rules required teams to report bribery attempts, and players were forbidden from associating with gamblers. The scandal highlighted the need for stronger financial protections for players. It remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked greed in sports. In 1946, the NFL faced a crisis involving players and team owners. Merle Hapes and Frank Filchock of the New York Giants were implicated in a bribery scandal. Despite Hapes reporting the bribe, the NFL allowed the championship game to proceed. The Bears defeated the Giants, but the victory was overshadowed by suspicion. The NFL's response raised questions about its commitment to integrity. The scandal exposed the league's vulnerability to corruption. The digital age ushered in a new era of corruption in American sports. Online gambling created a global network for illegal betting, making it harder to track and prosecute match fixing. Athletes, now earning astronomical salaries, became targets for sophisticated criminal organizations. The pressure to win intensified, blurring the line between legal and illegal activities. The fight against corruption required a more sophisticated response from sports leagues and law enforcement. In 2007, the NBA was rocked by a scandal involving referee Tim Donaghy. Donaghy bet on games he officiated, influencing outcomes. He pleaded guilty to federal charges and was sentenced to 15 months in prison. The scandal revealed biases and pressures within the NBA's officiating program. The NBA implemented stricter guidelines and an anonymous hotline to report suspicious activity. College athletics faced its own set of challenges with recruiting scandals, academic fraud, and improper benefits. The NCAA's amateurism model created an unfair system benefiting universities and coaches. Pressure for reform led to changes, allowing athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. However, challenges remain in ensuring a level playing field. The lines between amateurism and professionalism are increasingly blurred. Corruption in sports is often protected by a culture of silence. Whistleblowers face ostracism and personal attacks. Sports leagues must establish independent reporting mechanisms and protect whistleblowers. The media plays a vital role in uncovering corruption. A free and independent press is essential to maintaining the integrity of sports. Las Vegas has always held a dangerous attraction for the world of sports. Legalized sports betting brought concerns about corruption. Organized crime syndicates saw an opportunity to infiltrate the sports betting market. Athletes facing financial difficulties were tempted by quick paydays. The battle against corruption became increasingly complex. Point shaving manipulates specific moments within a game to meet a predetermined point spread. This subtle form of manipulation erodes the foundation of fair play. A high-profile scandal involved Arizona State University players in the mid-1990s. The players faced criminal charges, and the university's basketball program endured scrutiny. The scandal exposed the vulnerability of college athletes to corruption. The influence of corporate money on professional sports, while often touted as a necessary evil to fund salaries, stadium construction, and league expansion, also brought with it a new set of ethical dilemmas. Teams, eager to secure lucrative sponsorship deals and appease powerful corporate partners, sometimes found themselves compromising their values and principles. The collapse of Enron Corporation in 2001, a scandal that exposed widespread accounting fraud and corporate malfeasance, had far-reaching consequences, including the world of sports. Enron, once a high-flying energy giant, had invested heavily in sports marketing, securing naming rights to the Houston Astros' new baseball stadium and signing lucrative endorsement deals with star athletes. The scandal revealed a culture of greed and a willingness to prioritize profits over ethical considerations, not only within Enron but also within the sports organizations that had partnered with the company. The Astros, forced to find a new name for their stadium, became a symbol of the dangers of aligning with corporations with questionable ethics. The Enron scandal served as a cautionary tale for sports leagues and teams, highlighting the importance of due diligence and ethical considerations when entering into partnerships with corporate sponsors. It also underscored the need for transparency and accountability in sports finances to prevent conflicts of interest and maintain public trust. The pressure to win, often cited as a contributing factor to corruption in sports, can also manifest in a culture of silence and a reluctance to expose wrongdoing within an organization. Coaches, players, and team officials, bound by loyalty and a desire to protect the team's reputation, may feel compelled to turn a blind eye to unethical behavior, or even participate in cover-ups. This misplaced loyalty can have devastating consequences, allowing corruption to fester and spread unchecked. It creates an environment where individuals fear retribution for speaking out, protecting those in positions of power and perpetuating a cycle of silence and complicity. Breaking this cycle of silence requires a fundamental shift in culture, one that values integrity and accountability over blind loyalty. Teams and leagues must foster an environment where individuals feel empowered to report wrongdoing without fear of reprisal. This includes establishing independent reporting mechanisms, protecting the anonymity of whistleblowers, and enacting strict penalties for retaliation against those who come forward. Only by creating a culture where speaking truth to power is encouraged and protected can the corrosive influence of corruption be truly addressed. For decades, sports journalism walked a fine line between reporting on games and exposing behind-the-scenes machinations. Investigative reporting faced resistance from powerful leagues and team owners. However, corruption scandals rocked various sports leagues. A new breed of journalists emerged, determined to expose the truth. They faced considerable obstacles and pressure. Yet, they played a crucial role in uncovering corruption in sports history. Inspired by the success of Woodward and Bernstein, journalists began asking tougher questions. They challenged official narratives and forced transparency. The public, increasingly aware of potential corruption, watched closely. The advent of social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram ushered in a new era of transparency and accountability in sports. Athletes, once reliant on traditional media outlets to control their public image, now had a direct line to fans, allowing them to share their stories, express their opinions, and even expose wrongdoing within their respective leagues. Social media became a powerful tool for whistleblowers and those seeking to shed light on corruption within sports organizations. Athletes, coaches, and even team staff members feeling empowered by the anonymity and reach of social media, began to speak out against unethical practices, expose scandals, and challenge the often insular culture of silence that had protected corrupt individuals for years. However, social media's impact on sports corruption is not without its drawbacks. The same platforms that could be used to expose wrongdoing could also be used to spread misinformation, amplify rumors, and create a culture of trial by social media, where individuals were condemned without due process or a fair hearing. The challenge for sports leagues, journalists, and fans alike is to harness the power of social media for good, using it to promote transparency, hold individuals accountable, and create a more ethical and equitable sporting landscape. This requires a discerning approach, one that values verified information, encourages responsible use, and recognizes the potential harm of unchecked accusations and online mob mentality. The history of corruption in U.S. sports is a sobering reminder of the fragility of integrity and the constant need for vigilance, transparency, and accountability. While scandals have rocked various leagues, exposing the dark underbelly of athletic competition, they have also served as catalysts for reform, forcing organizations to confront their shortcomings and implement measures to restore public trust. Leagues, once reluctant to acknowledge the pervasiveness of corruption within their ranks, have implemented stricter regulations, established independent monitoring bodies, and invested in educational programs for athletes, coaches, and officials to promote ethical conduct and deter match-fixing, bribery, and other forms of corruption. The fight against corruption in sports is an ongoing process, one that requires a multifaceted approach involving leagues, teams, athletes, journalists, and fans alike. It demands a commitment to transparency, a willingness to hold individuals accountable, and a recognition that the pursuit of victory must never come at the expense of ethical conduct and fair play. The love of the game, the passion that drives millions of fans to cheer on their favorite teams and athletes, must be matched by a commitment to safeguarding the integrity of the very sports that inspire such devotion. Only then can the legacy of corruption be overcome, and the true spirit of athletic competition, one built on fairness, sportsmanship, and the pursuit of excellence, prevail. The scandals, the betrayals, the greed, they all point to a common thread: the erosion of trust. When the games we hold dear are manipulated for personal gain, it cuts deeper than just a scoreline or a championship title. It chips away at the very foundation of why we love sports. The thrill of victory loses its luster when tainted by doubt. We find ourselves questioning the authenticity of spectacular plays, wondering if they were the product of skill or a prearranged deal. The cheers of the crowd become laced with cynicism. The innocence of childhood fandom gives way to a jaded understanding of the world behind the curtain. And the athletes themselves, those we once idolized, become entangled in a web of suspicion, their accomplishments forever scrutinized under a microscope of doubt. This erosion of trust extends beyond the field of play. It seeps into our everyday lives, fueling a broader cynicism about institutions, authority figures, and even our fellow human beings. If we can't trust the integrity of something as seemingly pure as sports, what can we trust? This sense of disillusionment, once planted, can be difficult to uproot. It breeds apathy and disengagement, making it easier to turn away from the things we once held dear. And that perhaps is the most insidious consequence of corruption in sports: the slow, creeping erosion of hope, optimism, and the belief in something bigger than ourselves. The fight for integrity in sports is far from over. It requires a continuous effort from all stakeholders: leagues, teams, athletes, journalists, and fans alike. We must demand greater transparency and a culture that values ethical conduct. This includes holding individuals accountable, regardless of their status. Leagues must invest in educational programs for athletes, emphasizing integrity and the consequences of corruption. Whistleblowers must be protected and their courage celebrated. We, as fans, must demand responsible reporting and challenge sensationalized narratives. The road to reclaiming sports integrity is long but worthwhile. It is a journey worth taking. Let us reclaim the integrity of our games for the sake of fair play and human achievement.